Ladies and gentlemen, Zealand Herald News.
Hey, kia ora koutou i te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News with me, Pat, and our special co-host tonight, Sean Ackland. Sean, welcome to the show, mate.
It is awesome to be here. As I was just saying before the show, I have been a long-time listener, going back to the days of the COVID lockdowns. It's really exciting. I'll try not to fanboy too hard while I'm here.
Well, no one fanboys because Chewy's not here. So that means so I was thinking you're watching during lockdowns and you're Auckland Day. So that means during that second lockdown that Auckland got shut down for, that a lot of people are a bit pissy around. So you were watching us during that. Yeah, it was a strange time, that, because we were kind of having to commentate on what was happening in a place that we weren't living, but we were. We live in New Zealand, but not in Auckland. We're out doing stuff. Auckland's locked down. It was a strange time. It feels like it was 12, 15, 20 years ago, and it was sort of just yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a strange time, and there was certainly kind of, I feel like at Auckland at the time, our only kind of gauge of how the community was going at that stage was through community Facebook pages.
Yeah, right.
And the vibe was split, and I would say quite divisive. So yeah, it was a very strange time. I had BHN though to keep me sane, to keep me level-headed.
It's funny, eh? I mean, not that it's a time to kind of play winners and losers about this, but certain people really suffered under those lockdowns. You know, mental health was away from family when there was tragic events in their family that they couldn't attend, or fantastic events, and then other people kind of thrived in it. I'm not a hermit, but I work from home. I live at home. Of course, I live at my home. I work from home. You know, have my kids with me. I didn't find it that headspacey stressful, but acknowledge that for some people it did, and just say thank you, Bubba. We appreciate that. On a late fee, thank you very much. So it's a weird one to look back on. In fact, we're going to play some Jacinda Ardern interview tonight with John Stewart, and they kind of talk around a bit of that through that conversation. But what we should do first is tell people who you are. You are one of these sort of younger, up-and-coming political commentators who primarily shares on TikTok. Tell us about you and about what you're about.
Sure. So adding on to what you said, I'm kind of the same. I'm a homebody. I think during the lockdowns, I did kind of cope better than most, just from the nature of my preference for staying at home. And during that time, I actually wrote a fiction novel. And if you go right down to the bottom of that TikTok page,
we just go there?
There it is, The Jenison Cavalry. That was the book that I wrote during lockdown and got it published. And I went on TikTok with the intention of trying to sell the book. Yeah. Ended up getting 2 or 3 views a video. Then one day, Christopher Luxon said something really stupid, and I had to go and vent about it on TikTok, and it got a lot of engagement. I did a few more, and before I knew it, I found that I was suddenly a political commentator. I guess my TikTok became a political commentary page instead of a place to sell my books. There it is. So there, I used to also kind of do like movie analysis because like I'm an English teacher and stuff like that. So that was my kind of origin on the app. And I posted one video that was a response to Christopher Luxon announcing that they would extend literacy and numeracy to an hour a day in schools. And I'm like, that's not going to work. I need people to kind of understand why. And the video kind of blew up from there. And since then, I've been doing political commentary, a lot of editorials. If I were to describe the commentary that I do, it is mainly, I'd say, probably what people know my commentary as is kind of like, well, we take a story from the week, or we take kind of a popular news event, and I try to give like historical context to it.
Mm-hmm.
So an example would be with Nicola Willis's budget. I'm like, wow, this kind of reminds me of Ruth Richardson's budget. In fact, I think there's kind of a lot of overlap between Nicola Willis and Ruth Richardson. And I kind of wanted to kind of show, hey, we've been here before. Here's what we did, and here's what came of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very good things. And I wanted to kind of draw parallels. So that's kind of the nature of my content, drawing parallels to kind of history.
And if people want to find you, they can just look up Sean, Sean, Ackland, kind of like Auckland without the U, Sean like Ackland. And it's Sean_Ackland is a direct link to your...
I should also warn people, I have like 15 bot accounts, like 15 scam accounts. So make sure you get that underscore right. Don't fall for the double underscore. Don't fall for an exclamation mark at the end, or, or Ackland spelt wrong. Yeah. So, otherwise somebody pretend to be me will try and say, it's crypto or some nonsense.
Very good. All right. Hey, tonight on the show Whānau, we're going to have a look at Jacinda Ardern's conversation, a little bit of Mihi Forbes with Nicola Willis. It was it doesn't mean it's a bad interview, but it was a fairly tame interview. It seemed to be, they were quite, they weren't matey, but it wasn't maybe the same fireworks as we expect often from Mihi. Maybe because Nicola Willis, on some level, was answering the questions. The answers may not have been ones you like, but she was answering the questions, which seems to diffuse an interviewer. The others within that National Party might want to learn that. If you answer a question, it tends to diffuse the friction. Also, Mr. Luxon is not being rated very well by CEOs. Remember before the last election, they were pushing and pointing at Labour saying, the CEOs don't like you guys. We were always of the opinion that Labour should have gone, that's fine because we're here for the workers. We don't want to be friends with the CEOs. We want to be friends with the workers. That's what our history says. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Luxon wants to be friends with the CEOs, but it appears from some latest information they don't want to be friends with him. So he's at the back of the cowshed, not being played. He's like that kid at school who wants to play with everyone and no one wants to play with him. Old Mr. Luxon. And also, we're going to have a look at the Jimmy Kimmel thing, because the Jimmy Kimmel thing is really interesting, and most American commentators haven't had a chance to have a crack at it yet because it only happened this afternoon, New Zealand time. I'm going to play some video for you, including he gets emotional at one stage talking about Charlie Kirk. Well, not about Charlie Kirk, but about his intentions towards his commentary on Charlie Kirk. So we're going to play that and have a bit of fun. Before we do that, though, I just want to remind you of a couple of things. BHN.NZ is our new website, a new website page, page web. In here you find information about our shows, Big Hairy News, and the Friday night team as well, Bright Hairy News. They've got some information there as well. Also, you can get Locked Out, and you can get the frontline information there as well, and all the episodes are there, so it's sort of a one-stop shop. We're starting up a blog as well. Haven't done much with it yet, but it's going to be contributed to by more than just me, by people who are around. And the other thing is the shop is now on here as well. As you can see, we still have our You Can't Bomb the Truth Away hoodies and tees are available. This might be the last night that all sizes, both colors are available. Just giving you a heads up, because it is a limited run. I think we still have at least one of everything. So if you want to be, if you're keen for it and you want to be assured of getting your size, they're still available at the moment, then you might want to do that tonight. bhn.nz/shop, or just go to our old, well, it's not really our old store, but the other store, which is the original. But this eventually will shut down this store, just so you know. But there's kind of two running at the moment. And then perhaps tomorrow there may be some restrictions on sizings and colors, because I think we're getting to that tipping point of an early run. So just people who have got it, we'll be printing those probably Thursday or Friday, and they'll be going on couriers either Friday this week or Monday next week. So next weekend, Saturday week, when you're at your Palestinian rallies, you can wear them then. So just be aware of that one. A couple of quick updates about the merch as well. We are working there as the first draft of the enamels we're getting made. Now, don't panic, because the enamels get overfilled and then they basically kind of sand them back. So it looks a bit funny at the moment, but there's the first showing of the enamels being made right now in China. And then what they do is they actually screen print the enamel. So the eyeballs and stuff come from a screen print. They fill with enamel, then they screen print over the top. That's on the way. And I wanted to remind you of one other thing, if you weren't aware, because I have said this a few times. If you are someone who wants a larger hoodie or tee, we can do them, but they're in more limited colors. So basically all the colors go to 5XL, even though we only sell to 3XL on the store. So you'll have to approach us if you want a bigger one. And if you want, there's no such thing apparently in clothing as a 6XL. I never knew that, but apparently there's not. It goes to 5XL. And then they have bigger sizes, which are 7XL and 9XL. And as you can see, the hoodies, they only come in black, navy, and purple. And the tees in 7XL and 9XL are black and navy and grey and like a light grey and a white. I know this because someone's ordered a chewy fufu in a 7XL and they're going to go with the dark grey because we've done the dark grey before and it looks pretty cool as well. So if you are someone who prefers a bigger shirt for whatever reason, maybe you just like having it super baggy, or maybe you need a bigger shirt, we can do them, but only through you kind of connecting with us, which is mail@bhn.nz, and then we just figure it out because the costings on those are slightly different than the costings on the other ones. All right, Sean, I think we're done with the housekeeping, and I think it's time to perhaps get into the show. You good to go?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do this.
This is a really interesting conversation from today. We don't often pay attention to the polling mid-cycle that talks about, this would be this many seats, because it's not election day. It's a snapshot, but it's not election day. What is interesting, though, was like preferred prime minister, things that are talking about the individuals. Well, there is a group to do with the Herald that put out this program. I think they put it every year. It's called The Mood of the Boardroom. And The Mood of the Boardroom is speaking to CEOs about what they like and who they like within the government and who they don't like within the government. And one of the interesting things is it appears that there's two main points. Nicola Willis and Christopher Luxon don't feature in the top 10. And the other thing is how abysmal actually a lot of the ratings are. Let me show you the ratings first, and then we'll go to a TVNZ story. So the maximum you can score is 5. And there's only one minister. Now remember, this is only according to CEOs. There's only one minister that's over 4, which is Erica Stanford. So if you're thinking like the old school ways, Erica gets herself like an 80% mark, an 85% mark. Other than that, everyone is below 4. Winston Peters at 2, Chris Bishop at 3, Todd McClay at 4, Mark Mitchell at 5, Simeon Brown at 6, Judith Collins at 7, Brooke Van Velden at 8, Shane Jones at 9, Chris Pink at 10, and then Nicola Willis and Christopher Luxon. Now, I also notice in this list, no David Seymour. So Brooke Van Velden's in there, but no David Seymour in the top 10. So basically 2 of the political leaders of the current government, Luxon and Seymour, aren't in the top 10 of the ministers that this selected group of CEOs think are performing well, which in and of itself, Sean, is a commentary. Do you want to have any crack at that to start with, and then we'll watch the story on One News? What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts, the first thought I had was it was kind of a mixture of not surprising, but at the same time, I don't see what more Luxon can do to appeal to CEOs more than what he's already done.
Yeah.
You've got to consider the fact that he has the fast track bill. He has done tax cuts for the wealthy. We have seen a $4.3 billion wealth transfer from middle and lower income earners to the top 1% earners in this country. I want to know what these CEOs want from Luxon. I want to know what more can Luxon do for them. Is this a case of he hasn't done enough? I don't see how, because if you are a CEO, I do not know of a more pro-CEO prime minister in my memory. And by the way, we had John Key.
Yeah.
I want these guys to, I'm kind of weirdly enough defending Luxon here. What more do you want from the guy? Another couple of standouts there. I want to speak about 2 people who were in that top ranking. The first was Erica Stanford.
Yep.
I think the left should panic if Erica Stanford were to take Luxon's position. And I kind of speak as a teacher there. So a misconception about Erica Stanford is that she has the stain of the teacher strikes on her. No, she doesn't. Do you know who has that stain? Judith Collins.
Yeah.
Judith Collins was the person that they pushed out and and she was the one who kind of absorbed all the heat so that Erica couldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that on purpose as a way of protecting Erica, because when you see Erica in interviews, she comes across as far more of a moderate, far more of a sensible voice. And if the choice is between her and Hipkins, I think Hipkins should be kind of worried. Sorry,
I've been saying for a couple of months now that I think Erica Stanford is the next leader of the National Party. It was interesting this week when they were starting to talk about Nicola Willis and the terrible GDP results, and also Luxon not being able to get traction in the polls, maybe the rolling conversation might be having. And it seems that many within that kind of commentary position were saying Chris Bishop to lead and Erica is the number 2. Now, that hasn't really changed my thoughts around it, because much of what you're saying, let's put it in a way that may be unfair to Erica Stanford, but may be true. She plays the game very well. Now, me saying she plays the game very well might be her natural inclination. It might be actually genuinely who she is. That's either who it is, or she understands this game of politics better than the others, and that's why she comes off, I'm thinking, as what you've said. I also wonder about the Prime Minister in this. Maybe for the CEOs, maybe what they want in a minister is not just 100% about politics. Maybe because he achieves nothing and sort of does nothing, even though he's delivered up, a CEO's smorgasbord in their policy. Maybe even a CEO will go, yeah, that's good, but there's other things I want as well. And maybe that's where he falls short, not delivering on whatever the other things would be, even though he is delivering the CEO stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I would add, I wonder if there is a degree of introspection among these CEOs that, hey, Luxon has given you guys like essentially everything that you have asked for with the caveats you just listed. And you guys are in just as rough a shape as you were prior to that. And the economy is no better for it. I wonder if there's any kind of introspection in that boardroom. Something I would also, if you could go back, one person that is being slept on in that ranking is right there, Todd McClay. Todd McClay closed a deal in Saudi Arabia last week, a deal that will see 21 companies in New Zealand being able to trade in Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't be surprised if that factored into a lot of the CEO rankings. Yeah,
it is interesting because, and we'll go to the one news story now, but with the greatest respect to these two human beings in front of us, Mark Mitchell and Wee Simeon, I think that forgetting who they are and what they're doing at the moment, they're in charge of 2 of the portfolios that are performing worst of all. I mean, the whole debacle around 500 new police and that not happening at all, it's just an embarrassment. Mitchell's got egg on his face like nothing more, but they've ranked him above Willis and Luxon, and then Simeon Brown in the health sector at the moment. Like nothing good is coming from the health sector at the moment. So it's fascinating. I'd like to see the rationale as to why these people who are doing like terrible jobs and in their ministries performing really poorly are still ranking higher than the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. But let's go to the one news story now and have a look what coverage they had to say about the whole ranking system.
Christopher Luxon's taken a hit in popularity amongst some of the country's most powerful business leaders, with Nicola Willis's performance as finance minister also under scrutiny. This follows worse than expected economic results recently. Political editor Mihi Forbes has more.
The Prime Minister at the...
Sorry, I was going to go back. I know we're looking at this together, but just to bring back to the attention of both what you said and I said, the third person in the photo with these two?
Erica Stanford.
Just to point out.
Mihi Forbes has more.
The Prime Minister at the Departures Lounge today fending off questions over his political departure after a dramatic drop in approval ratings.
How safe is Christopher Luxon?
He's completely safe.
Confirming he's not going anywhere.
No, I'm here to do a job. I came to politics 4 years ago because
but
this
are
is
you?
an awesome country.
The New Zealand Herald's Mood of the Boardroom surveyed 150 of the country's top business leaders, with confidence in the economy down on last year.
My view is that we are doing the things that business want us to be doing, but you haven't seen all the results yet.
They say we need just more time, but we don't have time to waste. 36,000 people have lost work since 2023.
While Christopher Luxon shines on the world stage, CEOs say his government's lacking a clear vision back home, adding he doesn't take feedback well.
Pretty clear vision. We're going to build the best damn small country on earth.
Rating minister
Oh, the CEO-ism. Maybe that's why the CEOs don't like him, because they make them their title of CEO look like everyone goes, oh God, if this was what a CEO is all about, then that's awful. Let's
Actually,
sorry.
yes. Sorry, that's actually a really good point. I can't tell you how many times in teaching I have just seen kind of a teacher get really teachery, and I just kind of cringe.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that what we sound like?
Yeah.
It might.
All right.
You might have a point there.
Yep, here we go.
is out of 5. Coming in at number 1 is Erica Stanford, with Winston Peters at number 2 and Chris Bishop ranked 3. But not even in the top 10 is David Seymour at 11, Nicola Willis at
there you go.
13, and the Prime Minister ranked 15.
Why do you think you didn't rank more highly?
Because we're having an ugly recovery
Because I'm terrible at my job. That's why.
and
Pretty
people are
much.
feeling it. I am the face of finance and economic growth.
Yes.
And until that
Economic growth, the other one.
Yeah.
recovery is broadly felt and sustained, I expect that people will continue to challenge me.
Erica Stanford asked if she backs Luxon as leader.
Yes, he does have my full backing. He's doing a great job, and I'm very pleased to be and honoured to be part of his cabinet. And, you know, look, he has given me some incredible opportunities, as has the Minister of Finance.
We play a team sport here. And yes, I'm captain and I play a position on the team, but I can't be the
You don't
winner or
really.
the prop.
Hang on. You don't really play a position in the team if you've got no portfolios. You're like in the UK in their football league. You're like the manager. You're a non-playing manager. You don't play on the team. You're like whoever is in charge of Manchester United right now. The manager is in charge of the team, but he doesn't play. You are a non-player. You don't play on the team, Mr. Luxon. You're the manager who sits on the sideline. I was going to say something which would have sounded complimentary, but, you know, who lets all the stars run out and kick the ball around. But you know what I mean. The actual players play the game.
Team sport here. And yes, I'm captain and I play a position on the team, but I can't be the winger or the prop as well. And it's important that I put the right people on the right assignments.
Ranking Labour's front bench, number 1 is Barbara Edmonds, followed by Kieran McAnulty, with leader Chris Hipkins at 3. But Labour's lineup overall is rated poorly.
Hang on. I just need to do this. What was Luxon and Nicola Willis at?
Oh, good question. I think Luxon was 2.96, but you can go back and double check that.
Let's go back. Come on. Okay.
Yeah.
So Barbara Edmonds, who is the spokesperson for, you know, she carries the shadow spokesperson, is at 3.2. So Barbara Edmonds from Labour is ranked more highly by the CEOs than Nicola Willis, Christopher Luxon, or I believe if we skip back, which we won't, my memory tells me David Seymour was like 3.17 or something. So Barbara, I mean, like, you wouldn't expect the opposition to be loved by the CEOs, and you wouldn't expect a left-wing government to be loved by the CEOs. But the CEOs rank Barbara Edmonds more highly than David Seymour, Nicola Willis, and of course Christopher Luxon. That's an indictment. See, we don't like looking at the number of seats that there might be, but this kind of data shows us something about the feeling of a sector right now. That sector is the CEOs, the ones that this government constantly says they're here for and they want to run the country like. So that's really interesting. Anything, Sean?
Yeah, it is extremely interesting. If I'm Labour, I would not run on it.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think it's kind of, if you were to run at it, it should come from a position of, listen, this is how crap Luxon is. he's got the CEOs preferring us, and we are not the party of the CEOs.
No, that's exactly right. Like, we don't care. Well, I wouldn't say we don't care in this world, but we don't care about the CEOs, and we're going to fight for their workers, the factory floor guys. But even though we don't care about the CEOs, Barbara Edmonds is still ranked by those CEOs more highly than the current Minister of Finance. That's a pretty compelling message, and that's pretty embarrassing for this government. Well,
Very damning. Yeah.
We'll do this last 30 seconds.
Fully by business leaders, with calls for a stronger, more visible opposition and leader.
Barbara, it's been reported that you have no ambition to be the Prime Minister either. Is that still the case?
Still the case.
Nobody wants to be the Prime Minister.
But everyone does want to be in government.
National has made big promises on the economy. They were elected to make things better, but things have been worse.
We can't get it done in a term, team. And if you throw it up and put the other guys in charge, that puts the country at risk.
The mood of the boardroom putting everyone on notice. Mikey Sherman, One News.
Barbara Edmonds just doesn't want to be Prime Minister because she's got friggin' 8 kids. Where would she find time to be Prime Minister?
How many kids did Jim Bolger have?
27. I can't remember. I don't know. So that's a real. I think one of the more interesting things of that whole situation is Barbara Edmonds being preferred by the CEOs than those 3 people. The minister, so the shadow Minister of Finance, or the spokesperson for finance and Labour, is more preferred than the Minister of Finance. That's pretty telling. That's pretty telling as to the feel of these CEOs at the moment.
It kind of illustrates to me how desperate they must be. Well, what more can you say? There is no hiding from this. When you if I feel like that is your last kind of line of defense of, well, we've got the rich people on our side, and when they're turning on you, there's no kind of hiding from that.
Yeah. All right, team. Let's go have a look at some of the super chats and stuff that have come in, and then we'll get on to. It does look like Nicola Willis is about to do a pukana in the start of the next show. No, and it just feels like that's what's coming. Now, is it coming? Wait and see.
Right.
Wait and see, team. Gold wanted to remind us that at the very most, there's 451 days until the next election.
Oh, Jesus, that many.
Arvid says, late fee, kia ora, Sean.
Kia ora.
You say that many. People have been talking about Trump. Well, they always talk about Trump, but talking about Trump today. Oh my God, we're not doing this necessarily tonight, but Trump had a 15-minute slot at the UN, 15 minutes, and he spoke for 56 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just the arrogance, But there was 2 commentators I was watching today who was talking about Trump, and one of them went, "What? It hasn't even been a year yet." And the other one went, "It hasn't been 9 months yet." I'm like, oh my God, it does feel like a river of bullshit comes out of that White House, enough to fill, like in a day, enough to fill a month of coverage. So, yeah, it does feel a bit the same with these guys. Kiwi Bird, placing my bet now. Erica will roll Luxon. Oh, look at these people coming alongside me now. Erica Stanford. Really? We like that? As my guess, Brown and Mitchell are good for PPP. Okay. Over Red Rovers says, no, I came into politics to be knighted. And Ishnan says Nikki No Boats.
Nikki No Boats. Never let that die, guys. Never let that die. Yeah.
And if I was a cheesy or broadcaster, if you'd like to never let that die, let me just, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll tell you what, I am excited by the enamels though. Those enamels are going to be dope, man. We've got a Nikki No Boats enamel coming, and I'm really looking forward to getting it. We should have it within 2 weeks, and we'll be able to fire them out to people. It's going to be fun.
I want Nicola Willis to wear Nikki No Boats like Flavor Flav wears a clock. I want that.
Hey, actually, just because we're between 2 things, here's another question for you. Now, I'm not trying to pitch this to you, fun. I'm not doing you a hard sell. I got approached by someone the other day, and I haven't responded to them. If you're watching, fill your boots. But someone basically saying, could they take this design and put it on a sign that you can't bomb the truth away? So to have it on a sign like at a rally, it's hard to see that. If I go to the actual. Is it that one? Is it that one? Is that no, that's not the one. Is it that one? It's that one. Because I can make it bigger. Look at all this merch. Look at all this merch. Look at it all. This one. Someone asked me if they could have that. Use that on there. I haven't responded to. If you're watching, fill your boots. And if you want to use it on a sign, go for it. But I was thinking actually after they said that, maybe what we should do is rather than doing stickers, most of our stickers are around 10 by 10. We should do like 30 by 30s. Because then people could slap it on a sign or put it in the rear window of your car.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so this is we're brainstorming here, whānau, in the chat right now. What do you think? Like 30 centimetre by 30 centimetre squares of "you can't bomb the truth away," that exact slogan? Happy to get your thoughts. Happy to get your thoughts. It's a thought that came the other day. Did I just cut off our chats or did we finish that? I don't even know. Oh, Arvid's just finished us off. Nikki, no confidence. There you go. All right. Shall we do the next thing? That's so embarrassing. Sorry, I just saw it again. I just flicked this up and that was what popped up in front of me. It was that one. Man,
Oh,
that's so embarrassing.
jeez.
I tell you what. Oh, that's right. We're doing Nikki about Te Pūkana. Mata with Mihingarangi Forbes spoke to Nicola Willis for 30 minutes. It's worth a watch. It doesn't have the same sort of fireworks, which it doesn't have to have. You don't look for blood on the floor, right? It doesn't need to have fireworks. But it wasn't quite peaceful and respectful, but it wasn't also fiery.
Yeah.
It was sort of direct and questioning. But like I said, Nicola Willis, you may not like her answers, but she answered
She
most
did.
of the questions. So I think that always kind of takes away a bit of the heat and tension. I'm going to only play you, I think, 2 clips from it. One of them's about 3, one of them's about 4 minutes, so they're a bit longer. But this part of the conversation, Mihi was talking to Nicola Willis about the integration of the Māori economy and the economy, right? And somewhere in this, now I think our GDP is around 400 million. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It's about 400 million, 400 million. And in this I'm pretty sure somewhere in this, I don't know if it's in this clip or not, they said that the Māori economy was 400 million, 400 billion is what I meant, obviously. No, 400 million? I'm all confused. No, 400 billion, of course, 400 billion. The Māori economy was, I'm confusing myself now, was either 130 billion, that wouldn't be right, would it? Or 130 million. Okay, we're leaving that alone now. We're going to start like no one's seen this. In fact, if you're watching this as a clip tomorrow, all of this will be taken out. You won't see it at all. This is just for you special viewers. Mihingarangi Forbes had Nicola Willis on in the last couple of days, and we're going to touch on a couple of the conversations. The first one is the integration between the Māori economy and the economy. So I guess by the Māori economy, we would say what like initiatives and businesses and dealings done through Māori, with Māori, by iwi, that sort of thing as well. And they then went into a bit of a conversation, which we'll play at the end of this clip. It's 2 parts, where again, Christopher Luxon, much like the Amazon deal, tries to take credit for a deal made between Māori and an international investor when that deal was already signed, sealed, delivered before the event that she gives as an example. But let's have a listen to her conversation around the integration between these 2 economies.
How do you see the wider economy and the Māori economy integrating, or is the Māori economy something quite different?
They're so integrated because, you think about it, for example, Māori run farms, for example. Well, they won't just be employing Māori people, they'll be employing people from the local community. They won't just be spending their profits at Māori businesses, they'll be buying things from the local shops and the local stores. So when the Māori economy succeeds, the economy succeeds. And to me, it's that simple. But what you do see is that the distinctive accumulation of capital and the rising role of post-settlement entities has meant that I think there is a focus on long-term investments, intergenerational investments, sustainable business approaches, and I think that's been really healthy and is a really positive, input into the economy as a whole. Different ways of thinking and partnering with non-Māori, and so I think that you saw that, for example, after the International Investment Summit this year, where iwi were present alongside big international investors, and out of that came a partnership between Brookfields, the big Canadian entity.
Now, notice she said out of that event that they run. So she's made it clear that at that event they made this connection. Out of that came, and that's not true. It didn't come out of that. It was already set up.
For example, after the International Investment Summit this year, where iwi were present alongside big international investors. And out of that came a partnership between Brookfields, the big Canadian entity, and Waikato Tainui to co-invest in their logistics hub. And when you talk to the people from Brookfields about why did that make sense for you, it wasn't just about the business opportunity, it was also the shared sense of values about a long-term investment and contribution to community.
But that deal, the Brookfields deal, was well underway before the investment summit. That was purely Tainui,
Good job, Matthew.
searching for their own fortunes internationally.
Well, certainly Tainui themselves, via Tuku, have acknowledged that being at the summit was important to them and forging new connections and cementing
That's not what you
existing
said,
relationships. And we've heard that feedback pretty consistently from iwi who are at the summit, that they want those international opportunities. And equally, international investors say that to us, that they find partnering with iwi is a great way to enter into a community and understand the social context in which they're seeking to run their business.
I actually talked to Tuku yesterday, and he said that he's actually seen the Prime Minister try and claim the Brookfields deal a number of times, and he just wanted to make a point that actually they had nothing to do with it. But
well, success has many fathers, as you well know. I'm just glad.
We've been caught out here. What can we do? Divert.
They had nothing to do with it.
Well, success has many fathers, as you well know. And look, I'm just glad to see that deal up and away. And I'd love to see more deals like that, where iwi have an idea, have capital to invest. There's a gap between their ambition and the capital they have. Well, that's where an international partner can be instrumental. So if we can see more of that in the future, creating great Kiwi jobs, creating great Kiwi incomes, then that's a positive.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems to be, whether it's when this government comes out and talks about the houses being built until a reporter goes, they're all the houses that Labor sorted out and paid for, or whether it's Amazon where people go, this was announced during the Labor group, or whether it's this one where she says specifically what came from that forum is, and had to be reminded, no, that was already set up. This government seems to like taking credit for the good things that others have done, Sean.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because at the very beginning of that interview, Mihi Forbes brings up the dire GDP numbers. And Nicola Willis says, well, hold on. At the beginning, they were good. And it's like, well, yeah, they were good from the beginning. And they were
provided those.
They were steadily improving under the last government, and that was very much an after effect. Like, you guys think you were consequential to those GDP numbers rising in 3 months? And by the way, and this goes back to what you just said, again, taking credit for the good things. Yeah. And you can't have it both ways. You can't say on one breath, look at the mess that Labor left us with, but hey, look, the GDP numbers were good under our watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's shameless.
Yeah. But this is one of the things that we're seeing in the media, and one of the things that's so dangerous about, our media failing. And I'm talking about financially failing, and, groups going away and reporters being laid off. It's because we need time to do the research, to get the access to ask the question. And there's too much at the moment, which is not Mihi. Mihi's one of the yardsticks. Jack Tame is one of the yardsticks. They're out there. Moana Maniapoto is one of the yardsticks. These guys are out there. But in general, a lot of the media is just regurgitating the press release. And most of me kind of goes, dudes, if, we're rodeo clowns in Dunedin. If we can do a bit of research, you can. But then another part of me goes, I know how that world works, man. You got to get 4 or 5, 6 stories out. You've got one day, you've got a half an hour turnaround time. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I understand how they can maybe not be as on top of it as they were. And that's why things like New Zealand and their funding for journalism is so bloody important. We're too small a country to support news media. It's as simple as that. It's not, nowhere in the world is news media a money-making situation. We're too small. We need to get this. Anyway, little side note there. But speaking of side notes, I was right, even though I kind of backed off it. Rod Tang said 126 billion. That's the Māori economy. And I looked it up, and yeah, indeed, it was the Māori economy has an asset base of 126 billion as of the 2023 Te Ohanga Māori report. And that's out of a total of 435. Because that's what I thought when I heard it. I'm like, that's more than a quarter of our economy. That's a really big number. 126 out of 435. Yeah. New Zealand's economy is worth approximately 435 billion for the year ending June 2025. I'm just like, let's acknowledge how big this is and what it's actually about. So yeah, I was just surprised when I heard how much of the overall economy is made up of the Māori economy, so to speak. Speaking of that, and obviously this is part of the kaupapa of Mata, they were talking about Māori tamariki health and education, and what this coalition government is doing to help the negative stats. This was right near the end of the interview, so let's have a listen to what they had to say about that.
Just on we were talking about being mothers before, and as mothers, we know that the health of our families can be measured by the health of our children. So as the Finance Minister in charge of the big New Zealand family of 5-point-something million, when 24% of your Māori tamariki are living in material poverty, what are you doing wrong, and what levers can you pull?
It's such a good question.
It is an excellent question.
Because it's not why, it's what are you doing wrong? Like, this is the kind of thing I've constantly said about David Seymour. If anyone, because when you start talking about Atlas, he goes, well, that's conspiracy. All you need to do is ask David Seymour, when you studied at the Atlas Network, what was the biggest lesson you took away? Don't challenge him. Don't be like, oh, what's this all about? Just and that's a perfect, Mihi, as I said, she's a yardstick in this. What are you doing wrong? This is a wrong fact, a wrong stat, a bad stat. What are you doing wrong?
It's appropriate framing. Yeah.
Because if she said what's going wrong, she'll go, oh, last guys and, we bought in and it was a hard run. It's like, well, yes, the negative stats around Māori are laid at the feet of all governments, but that doesn't mean you haven't, because if they're as bad as they were, then you haven't improved them. So what are you doing wrong? It's a very, very good question. It's a very good question.
Māori tamariki are living in material poverty. What are you doing wrong, and what levers can you pull?
Well, I think whenever I think of children and poverty, I think about their parents, because ultimately no parent wants their child to be living in a situation where they don't materially have what they need. But we have to think about the different circumstances that have led them there. And one of the things that we know is heavily associated with material deprivation is people who are dependent on an unemployment benefit rather than having paid work. That's why our government is so focused on ensuring that there are supportive pathways out of welfare and
You've got to have jobs. You've got to have jobs if you want people to come off benefits.
Yes, you do, and that's why we're focused on job creation.
You shouldn't be cutting jobs.
But we also know that even during times of very low unemployment, there have been families and communities that have persisted on welfare for long periods of time and who need more support to get off it. So that is one area that's really important. The second area is that sometimes when people aren't working, it's not through a lack of interest, but a lack of education. And so I maintain that one of the biggest things we can do in the medium term to ensure that more young people succeed is have a better education system that better equips young people.
It's funny, Chewy always says, Chewy. Chewy, to turn out my 40 for Chewy. Chewy always says that these guys are very good at identifying the problem, but they never come up with a solution. In fact, you could say, part of me kind of doesn't think it's such a big deal whether you give the first year of university free or the last, but when I stop now and think about it, you go, that will definitely stop some people from wanting to enter. And what she's saying is, we need to get more of these kids better educated, sure. So why did you change it from the first year free to the last year free? Because the last year free, that does reward those who have done the hard mahi, but the first year free would then encourage more people to get in and give it a crack and see how they go. So it's sort of now where I'm starting to kind of go, rather than going, well, they both have pros and cons, it's actually, well, if you want these kids to be better educated, then you need to help the education system. You need to help kids use the education system. Why don't we go back to the first year of university being free? Those 18-year-olds that are then coming out into the society, rather than not being able to find a job and going straight on unemployment, might go to university instead. It's not costing them anything. Sean?
You can go all day with this. The teacher in me would say, hey, if you guys are concerned about Māori education, why did you cut from the school lunch program? I'm a teacher, and I can say with confidence and with authority that school lunch program in its original form, where they weren't serving Joe Damon, I don't know if the famous New Zealand comedian, had a great quote about it. He did a reaction to it. He said, that isn't a meal, that is a dare, in regards to the new school lunch meals. He is correct. And the original school lunch meals, they were much more palatable. They were I used to have them. They were really good. They cut from that and replaced them with something far more inferior, something that nobody wants to eat, and it had and it served as a net negative for student outcomes. So we can go all day in terms of ways they have compromised the incentive model behind education. the two things that have just been listed now are two of probably a dozen things. So, yeah.
The other thing is, and this is for the next story on Jacinda, is I learned something from the Jacinda interview, which I'm going to play you. It's only a 20-second clip. During the COVID period, one of the reasons this was new to me, and it puts a whole different spin on defunding school lunches. During the COVID period, the then Labour government funded school lunches in part to help the disproportionate impact that there were on women losing their jobs in COVID. So they actually thought, well, we need school lunches. Let's start funding it so, mums can start doing their school lunches and getting paid. So that a portion of the school lunches was set up, you'll hear Jacinda say it when we play the interview, to help support vulnerable people, disproportionately impacted people from COVID to not go on social welfare. And these guys come in and they want to make it more cost effective. It's not necessarily the reason it was originally set up. And I've heard no one talk about that at any stage to do with school lunches. You tangented me there, which is good. You're doing a good chewy by pulling that tangent out. But we will come back to that with Jacinda. But for now, let's just get to the end of this, talking about tamariki health and education.
Certainly the investments we've made across our first two budgets have reflected that priority.
And again, that's the mainstream system that's failing Māori children. And I think I've actually asked this of Erica Stanford, Minister for Education, is that when you can see such success in a Māori model like wharekura and kura kaupapa, why would you not invest more in it?
Results.
And we are. And in this budget, we invested specifically for new
there are
learning
families
spaces
waiting
in
for
kura kaupapa.
3 years to get their kids into kohanga reo all around this country. It is a real crisis at the moment. You have all the levers and all the ability to make changes tomorrow by pouring more money into Māori education and early childhood rather than pulling money out of the Māori Development Fund at the budget.
Well, we are committed to kohanga reo, and in fact funding is available for every child who wishes to enrol in kohanga. The real barrier there is a lack of teachers who can teach in te reo Māori. And so that is an area that we have focused on in our recent budget. We, for example, invested money in upskilling teachers in the mainstream system to have better access to te reo Māori.
It's also buildings and it's also schools.
Which is why
it is this thing that's funny as well, the way she's talking about how much they are behind te reo Māori in schools, whilst the government is doing everything they can to disappear te reo Māori from society. Road signs, whether it's the translators in university, in
what we teach, and the books we're teaching.
Yep, and translators in Parliament. These things are paying people less. That used to be like a credit you'd get if you spoke Māori as well. That gets taken away. So I used to have someone in my life who would say, when words and actions don't align, you believe the actions, not the words. And her words are saying, oh, yep, we want more, we want more, we want more, we want to get behind, we want to push forward. Te reo Māori is really important. The actions of this government are middle finger to te reo Māori. And I know which I believe. This, and like I said earlier, one of the reasons I don't think this interview got necessarily heated was she did give answers. The answers may not have been answers we liked, but she did answer the question. Like this is another example. So this has got about 60 seconds. Let's just get to the end. I'll try and shut up.
Teachers in the mainstream system to have better access to te reo Māori.
It's also buildings and it's also schools.
Which is why in the budget we invested specific funding in allowing for 50 new classrooms to be built across kura kaupapa, and why we're continuing to invest more in school property growth, because where schools are successful and they're in demand, we do want them to be able to grow, and we really support choice in the education system. Mainstream schools, charter schools, kura kaupapa all play a role in where families are able to match their values with the aspirations of their children in a school. We really want to see that partnership.
You've just committed $500 million to schools, for rebuilds, infrastructure in schools. What have you got for kohanga reo?
Well, kohanga reo continue to access all of the subsidy programs that the government funds for early childhood.
What she says now in 30 seconds is nothing new. So the government's just said, all those builders are leaving. We better try and keep some of those builders by building classrooms, and that's going to go into mainstream schools. That's going to go into charter schools. Where it's not going to go is kura kaupapa Māori, which is what Mihi is saying. What about these guys? And the response from that is, all these things we're doing for everybody to help Māori. It's going to help them as well. It's a real bullshit answer.
Well, kohanga reo continue to access all of the subsidy programs that the government funds for early
childhood
education. And in our recent budget, we also made a specific investment in their data systems. And we're investing in the Family Boost program, which is available to to all parents who enrol their kids in kohanga reo. So the way that we fund early childhood education across the board
Family boost.
is that we provide funding on an hourly basis based on students' enrolments, and then centres make their own choices about property development.
So she was asked, what are you doing for kohanga reo? And one of her answers was Family Boost,
Family
which is
Boost.
available to every single New Zealander with small children. So that's not anything you're doing for kohanga reo. So that's why she was called out. I wonder if that was getting time to run out of the time for the interview, because I thought that was one area that if Mihi really wanted to shoot back, she could, but they didn't. They kind of wrapped up. Sean, this is when we often reflect on what we've just heard. Any thoughts around what you've just heard with Nicola Willis?
I think Mihi Forbes did a great job in kind of, as you said, framing her questions within reality. It is refreshing to see. Too often we see with journalists, unfortunately in this country, is they'll kind of hear the perspective of the left and hear the perspective of the right and kind of go, well, you, the audience, have to decide which is correct. And it's kind of like saying, one side is saying it's raining outside, the other is saying, no, it isn't. I feel like the journalist's job is to look out the window and see who is correct and then frame your questions within that reality. She did a really good job, Mihi, with a lot of these questions. And she was and something that she made sure to do is make sure that Nicola could kind of target her $500 million or whatever the number it was that she gave. She made sure, hey, okay, fine, you're throwing money at the problem, but where is that money going? Mm-hmm. Is it going to kohanga reo? Is it going to where you're implying it is, but you're not giving evidence to it? So yeah. I think good job from Mihi.
Yeah, really good job. I mean, as I've said it 3 times tonight, that's why she's one of the yardsticks. She's one of the best in the country at doing it. Paula Penfold, her, Moana Maniapoto, Jack Tame. There's a few up there that we look to who always give good interview, if there is such a thing. There's a couple of chats that we just want to get to between the shows. Oh, there's only just one. Oh, Sasha said it's not the lunch makers for the funding. I guess I'll say either way, whether it's the lunch makers or more behind the scenes or whatever it was, part of the reason that the school lunches through COVID were invested in was to help women who are disproportionately getting impacted by losing work. Now, I'll just leave that right there. And man, that's a big blowfly. Look at the size of it. What are you doing this time of night, mate? We will let Jacinda explain that in a conversation we're going to have shortly. Overred Rover says, Mardi, Moldy, apologies for the connotation. I'm of the wrong heritage, but effort into the pronunciation, please. I'm assuming Red Rover is talking to Nicola Willis there.
Mardi. This is a conspiracy theory, not steeped in any evidence I have whatsoever. So take this for the 2 cents it's approximately worth. I think they do it on purpose.
Yeah, I wonder that, eh? I mean, it's always been interesting to hear Christopher Luxon, not so much recently, but in the early part of his term, saying that he was studying Māori, but then at no stage did you hear him use it. Like someone would say, Kia ora, Prime Minister, and he'd say, good morning. At no stage would he use it. He has used it a couple of times, but yeah, it's bizarre. I wonder.
Yeah, we had Anthony Albanese going for a hangi, and he goes in for the handshake. I think they do it on purpose.
Yeah, maybe. Arvid says, Kura, take some taxpayer-funded lessons, Nikki. Melanie has we can't see the super stickers. If you're on YouTube, enjoy Melanie's super sticker. That's an Australian $5.99. That's going to be about 25 New Zealand dollars. Thanks, Melanie. Appreciate the super sticker. I'll go have a look after the show. And Locked Out says, Coalition of Chaos government is a washing machine stuck on spin cycle. Gotcha. Let's have a look at Jimmy Kimmel. We won't play every news story in the world. This is the classic Streisand effect here. Every news story in the world is featuring Jimmy Kimmel as part of their headlines tonight because this is a person who has become a bit of a example to the rest of certainly America as to how Trump's White House and Trump's government is tutuing with free speech, is hampering free speech. And I'm not going to play any of the news stories. I think we'll just play some of Jimmy Kimmel and seeing what he's talking about. So this is about a 2.5 minute bit, and then we've got 2 very short bits to play after that. But this 2.5 minute bit is really, he sets out what has happened and the hypocrisy within the Trump team as to pulling him off stage.
Should the government be allowed to regulate which podcasts the cell phone companies and Wi-Fi providers are allowed to let you download to make sure they serve the public interest?
It's a great example. It's a great example. Should the government be able to tell Apple those ones have to come off because we don't like them? It's a great example.
You think that sounds crazy? No! 10 years ago, this sounded crazy. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, telling an American company, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. In addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment, is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public. Ted Cruz said he sounded like a mafioso. Although, I don't know, if you want to hear a mob boss make a threat like that, you have to hide a microphone in a deli and park outside in a van with a tape recorder all night long. This genius said it on a podcast. Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing car Republicans have embraced since this one. And that's saying something.
The original joke I was going to say got him in trouble. He wasn't in trouble. The original joke was very, very, very clever, talking about the fourth stage of grief is construction. It's a really good joke. It's very clever. Yeah. And there's a couple in this which are absolute bangers as well. Yeah. Maybe not quite so much that one, but there's a couple I'm going to play for you through the way which are absolute bangers, whether they're from him or his writing team. It's good work at the moment from these guys. Real good work.
The FCC has a tradition of meddling where they shouldn't under many administrations, but it wasn't always like this. There was an FCC commissioner back in 2022 who worked under Joe Biden who was spot on. He wrote, President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. You know who wrote that? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, who later was appointed chairman of the FCC by this former crusader for free speech.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down.
That was also in 2022. And I wonder, how did that guy turn into this guy?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel he was fired, he had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings.
Well, I do tonight.
That's very true as well. Now, one of the more interesting things about this, Sean, is that the lie that was getting told by Republicans who were supporting this, and people on the right, commentators and stuff, was, oh, this is just business practice. They're taking them off. Yeah, it's a financial business decision. It's got nothing to do with Trump, nothing like that. Except what's happened is it's the exact opposite. It's completely to do with Trump, and it's completely to do with pressure being put on by the government to get him taken off air as the way he got taken off. The reason he got brought back on was a complete business decision. The number of people who cancelled Hulu, who cancelled Disney Plus, their stock dropped $4 billion. So it's probably one of the first times in recent history you've seen someone getting removed unfairly from a network or from a job, who the public then went, and because of the financial decisions the public made, that's why he's back on. I've got a very, before you respond, I'm giving you the ball, but I'm going to say, because this is one of the places he did a very good joke. This is only 30 seconds, right? So just got that. The reason that he came back was financial. And this was a banger of a joke as well.
Now, a lot of people have been asking me if there are conditions for my return to the air, and there is one. Disney has asked me to read the following statement, and I've agreed to do it. Here we go. To reactivate your Disney Plus and Hulu account, open the Disney Plus app on your smart TV or TV-connected device. I
That is a good joke. Again, a banger.
Yeah.
That's a great one. And actually, you know, a lot of comedy, not all comedy, but most comedy that people really enjoy is close to the truth. It's close to the truth that so many people cancelled and so many people turned off that the joke he just made had truth. So I've got another clip to play about him getting emotional around Charlie Kirk. But Sean, the ball is yours. What are your thoughts?
So I don't want to harp on too much. I think a lot of people learnt this week something that those who may be more politically dialed in learned about 8 years ago with a man named Merrick Garland. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Merrick Garland, for the uninitiated, he in 2016, the Supreme Court Justice Anthony Scalia passed away. Obama got to pick the next Supreme Court Justice. He chose a man named Merrick Garland. The Republicans blocked that nominee, citing that it was the last year of Obama's presidency, so they should wait till after the election. After the election, then identical circumstances happened 4 years later.
Hang on, not even identical, because it was 9 to 10 months before Obama was going to go. It was literally a few weeks before Trump was going to go. So there was like a full year build up. The other one, there was like a month build up. So it's not quite the same, but keep going.
Good point. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg passes away. And the same Republicans who said, no, you should wait for the presidential election, turned on it on a dime, and they were shameless about it. Mitch McConnell famously said, different
he
rules.
said it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, no, we're just not going to do it this time around. I learned something that day, and it was, they know they're hypocrites. They know they're hypocrites. They don't care. They're shameless. These are the same guys who for over a decade have been harping on about free speech this, free speech that. The moment that they actually employ the very thing that they have been shouting about for years, the moment they do it, it all goes out the window for most of them, not all of them. Kimmel does give credit to the voices that dissented against Trump, the right-wing voices, the Ben Shapiro's and Joe Rogan's of the world, and Ted Cruz's, who seem to, muster up what little principle they had. But that's an important takeaway to get from this, guys. If you want to attack them on hypocrisy, know that it's not going to stick. Know that they don't care. They simply don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it's very, very true. It's it's this idea of how the left versus how the right play, and how that there are a lot of people who want to support the left who want mongrel. They're sick of watching mongrel on the right. Get to the end of that game with missing teeth and bloody wrists, and because they've just been fighting and scrapping, and they want to see a bit of it on the left.
But just one more thing. One quote that I think has done irreparable damage to the left was in 2012 when Michelle Obama stood up at the Democratic National Convention and said, "When they go low, we go high." Yeah. No. Yeah. When they go low, we need to go lower.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think I agree with Michelle Obama in an ideal world. Right, but we're not living in that world, which is why I think that put it this way, I've never seen the left do it. I'd like to see them give it a crack, and then see how the outcome goes.
Well,
we'll play this last clip from Jimmy Kimmel now. Now, I first want to reset this up by saying a couple of things. The first is there is lies being told about Kimmel as to what he said. The lies that are being told about Kimmel by MAGA is that he said the shooter was MAGA. He never said that. What he said was MAGA's trying to run away from this guy and make sure everyone's aware he's not one of them. That's what he said. Yeah. And that's true, because you know what? MAGA was doing that. So were the Democrats. Everyone was running away saying not ours, not ours, not ours. So what he actually said was truthful. And what he did was tell a joke about Trump. Yeah. That joke about Trump, which was, you remember it, he was standing in front of his helicopter and people were like, how are you holding, the press like, how are you holding up, Mr. President? And he's like, yeah, fine, look at my ballroom. And so the joke was, the fourth stage of grief is construction. It's a very good joke.
Very good joke.
He didn't say what they said he did. And I think he's taken slight umbrage in this. I would too if I was you, Jimmy Kimmel, because he shares here for about 60 seconds on that comment. And what he had previously said about about Charlie Kirk and his wife. And he gets a bit emotional, but we'll play the full 60 seconds of it for you because, yeah, let's set the record straight. If nothing else, let's be accurate. Even when we're wrong, accuracy is important. We're not wrong in this instance, but let's be accurate.
But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever.
So that was the response specifically to that. He says later on as well in that it's like a 30-minute piece on YouTube if you want to go see it. He says later on, he actually says what Erica Kirk said was what we should all do when she forgave the shooter. Now, I know people out there will roll their eyes and they'll think MAGA, whatever, weird, blah, blah, blah. But the premise of what he was saying, I think I agree with as well. It's like, some people are going to say what Erica Kirk did was performative. Maybe it was. I don't know. But the words she used and what she put out there of forgiveness is a much healthier place to be than making up lies about someone and saying something horrific that they've said when they never said it. So I think forgiveness is the right path. Forgiveness and empathy are the places to go, even though we all know Charlie Kirk didn't believe in empathy because he told us. But that's still the place to go. Sean?
I'm inclined to agree. I think something that kind of speaks to Erica Kirk's intentions is that she could have called for blood in that moment the same way that Trump was calling for blood at that very memorial service. The same way that many people on Fox News, many people in the media, Elon Musk, Jesse Waters, basically the guys who are going to be the last people to pick up a gun or pick up a stick to fight. She could have called for violence. She could have, stoked the flames. She chose not to. Whether or not it was performative, I think there is a discussion to be had. But I was happy to hear it, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I'm the one who's got the world's worst algorithm in this group right now, but I get all the worst things in the world. And I watched in its entirety the Erica Kirk message like 36 hours after he'd died, her husband had died, and there was more venom in that. But dude, grace. Because and I wonder if there's been a mulling over. I wonder if it's before. It doesn't actually matter what it is, but she had a different tone at the service than she did certainly 36 hours later. So anyway, there are a couple of chats in there. One is from Wellington Ruru, says late feed. Did we talk about Luxon falling into line with Trump's absurd comments about the UN? We'll have a look at that in the super sec. It's not part of our stories tonight, but I know what you're talking about. And Alex has also passed through a super sticker. And although this system doesn't show it, shall I show you what it is? I'll bring this across. Here we go. Hang on. Give me a sec. Just talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'll just be a second. I'll be back in a minute. Here we are. There we go. That's the super sticker there. It is a green man with a backwards yellow cap on. Oh gosh, that's gone crazy, isn't it? Doing something crazy. Look at that. It's going. It goes into infinity. That's like the Hall of Mirrors. The Hall of Mirrors. Okay, that's scaring me a little bit now, so I'm just going to close that window down because it's going to confuse me. Now back to Ruru's comment. We're not featuring it tonight. There's just so much out there at the moment. This is one of those shows that could go for 3 hours if you wanted it to. It's not going to. We're about to get into the last story. But for people who haven't heard or seen the story, Christopher Luxon backs UN reform after Donald Trump attacks the organization. Again, Donald Trump had a 15-minute slot and he talked for 56 minutes. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon said the UN needs serious reform just hours after US President Donald Trump questioned the purpose of the organisation in a fiery speech to the UN General Assembly. Luxon spoke to reporters at Auckland Airport earlier today and was asked about what he made of Trump's speech to the UN. It's not the language that we would use, he said. We believe strongly in the international rules-based system. Part of that is working in a multilateral way with other countries. Bodies like the UN are very important. But I also agree that the UN needs some serious reform, and that's something that we've talked about for a long time here in New Zealand as well. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with, I think the UN needs reform. I think the vetoes have to go away. So I think it needs reform. Does that mean I'm agreeing with Trump though? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would need to then ask him another question about, by reforms, what do you mean? And he might say, well, those superpowers, we should get rid of their vetoes. And I would say, I agree with you, Mr. Luxon. He might say, well, all the other countries in the world are shitholes. And then I wouldn't agree with you, Mr. Luxon. So it depends what he means. But you got any thoughts on that, Sean? You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I would ask, what I would say to you, Chris, is when he was dissing all the countries, saying that we're dissing all the leaders of those countries, you were one of those leaders.
Yeah.
So for you to kind of be agreeable to that, it's not what I would have said. I would have gone a little bit further. And like you said, sometimes, I think for Luxon to say that there does need to be reform, absolutely. But sometimes the right message can come from the wrong messenger. Trump's the wrong messenger. And I think for him to kind of hide behind that, I feel was characteristically wormy of him.
I did have a tinge of a conspiracy theory around it. I wonder if Luxon being neutral to potentially supportive of Trump's comments has anything to do with a particular Gaza conversation coming out later this week at the UN.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually don't think so, but the thought did cross my mind. That's all I'll say. All right. Let's get into Dame, the Lord, God Almighty, Mrs. and Mr. Sir Jacinda Ardern. I believe that's her full title now.
I think you forgot Doctor.
Jacinda Ardern did a marvellous job on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. In America, Jon Stewart would be one of those yardsticks, right, that we were talking about earlier. And here's this thing about school lunches. I hadn't heard this before, especially when all we hear from this government is saving money, saving money, saving money. It sounds like to me that during COVID, when a disproportionate number of women were losing work, that the Labor government put more into the school lunches, not just to help the kids, but to help women be involved and get an income. It's only 20 seconds. It's a real almost throwaway comment, but have a listen, because I'd never heard anyone say this before.
I remember during COVID, we were really worried about the number of women that were losing work, because particularly you saw insecure jobs which were dominated by women that were really, really struggling. And so we put a food and schools program in, knowing that part-time work would likely support women into the workforce. And so you try.
I mean, that's it. But it's like, I hadn't heard that before, and I just think, gosh, that would have been an interesting conversation for someone to talk to Mr. Seymour about, when he was making it sound like just money, just money, just money. Yeah. The previous government seemed to see it more as a social safety net as well as money, which I'd never thought about.
By the way, I would make an argument that it had a return. It had a return and good. David Seymour likes to harp on about school attendance. I can guarantee you there were kids, especially kids living below the poverty line in this country. A lot of them, those school lunches made the difference between whether or not they showed up to school that day.
Yeah.
So for David Seymour to target school lunches the way he did, while also clutching his pearls about attendance, characteristically gross. Yeah.
All right. Again, I mean, I think I had heard this before, but they were talking about social media. They were talking about Jon Stewart asked Jacinda about her dealings with Trump, because she was Prime Minister when he was president. And they talked about the Christchurch shooter stats and stuff came up, and a part of a conversation around society and social media. We'll get to that now.
You guys did do that. I mean, not necessarily to look. It's very difficult to design a society to out-strategize crazy. Like, that's going to exist. But you can do things maybe
I'm
to
pleased
mitigate
you're not putting
it.
that all on New Zealand. I mean, we can do a lot. We can do a lot, but...
I was hoping you'd pick up on that. It's your fault for burying the ring there. The ring is what's causing a lot of this.
I find it
People
often.
go.
It often comes back to that. I find.
By the way, I want to point out.
Okay. I played the wrong piece. I'll come back and play the right piece as well. I've got my notes wrong. We'll keep going. We'll come back to that about dealings with Trump and stuff. I can show that. But I tell you something that Jacinda did that was brilliant on The Daily Show is gave a New Zealand company some of the best advertising it would ever get. Could you imagine Christopher Luxon doing this? You watch how slick this is and what she does to show the world an ambassador for New Zealand. This is the ambassador for New Zealand. Check this out.
So I went to say hello before the show, and it was lovely. And you have an enormous, in her dressing room, an enormous, I guess, posse, you'd call it.
There's two of them.
No. Let's be honest. You roll like Snoop. But she had laid out a lovely display of New Zealand chocolates on a plate.
So Jacinda bought New Zealand chocolate with her.
Yeah.
And left it in the dressing room, but we're not finished.
What is the name of the chocolate?
I think you'll
Oh,
find
for God's sakes.
Whitakers Hokey Pokey.
So I walk in, and she has a full display of Whitakers Hokey Pokey
I could have
Crunch.
put the whole block, it would have melted in my trousers, but I did bring...
And it was, and I have to say, delicious, but I didn't know if I was supposed to say, like, wow, New Zealand, nice.
Could you just say that directly down?
Wow, New Zealand, great chocolate.
I mean, you know, how that's not going to be all over probably already Whitaker's face page. And, you know, it does just lead into a conversation around the kind of person Jacinda is, the kind of leader she is. You know, we often talk about sort of the idea of the CEO lingo and how unnatural it sounds, but you know, that's the way you do it. I mean, that's the way to do it. It's just as brilliant. It's very, very well done. I mean, John Key went on some of these shows back in the day and he did the Letterman top 10 from memory. He just looked like a complete goose. This is natural. This is off the cuff. This has got Jon Stewart singing the praises of Whitaker. I would be amazed. Actually, we should do this. Google the Google searches for Whitakers in America and the 24 hours following that. They'll be significant. They'll be significant. Sean?
I would kind of, one difference, like, regardless of what you think of Jacinda, you can't doubt she loves this country. Yeah. She loves New Zealand. And that is kind of, I feel like with this new government, because I've never been like a big patriot kind of, New Zealand pride, rah, rah. But if you were to be a patriot, if you were to be somebody who described yourself as patriotic, we have Christopher Luxon, who has spent the majority of his adult life in America. We have David Seymour, who is trying to import American and Canadian whatever ideology over here. We have Winston doing everything he can to leave this country. You can bet if there's a plane taking off, Winston's going to be on it. And I really kind of wish the left hit National harder on this. That, listen, we are for New Zealand. We make our decisions and policies based on the good of this country. You guys seem to be doing everything you can that is antithetical of New Zealand. You brought up the road signs before, and you talk about something so unpatriotic. Well, trying to being that dismissive of our history, of our Indigenous people, of the thing that makes us New Zealand. I don't think that gets spoken about enough. And her kind of, she has this moment on the worldwide stage. She's in front of the most beloved talk show host in decades, and she uses that to promote a New Zealand company. Jacinda Ardern is good at this, guys. She's good at this. Regardless of what you thought of how she handled whatever, as a politician, as an ambassador for our country, she is good at this. So yeah, that's what I'll say on that.
Let's have a look at this video I cocked up. Let's have a look at her and Jon Stewart. They've just been talking about her dealings with Trump, and they get into a part of the conversation around the Christchurch shooting and the influence in society today of social media. John Stewart with Jacinda Ardern.
Imagine you had to deal with social media companies and all that because of what happened on Christchurch was public.
It was live streamed. It was live streamed. If you can imagine an attack as horrific as that, targeting Friday prayers to maximise the number of victims, and it was live streamed for 17 minutes.
And what was the attitude trying to contain that and get it pulled down? And was there a sense of them saying, yeah, we have a responsibility
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing, actually, that you can get agreement on. Everyone agrees that violent extremism and terrorism in the online environment is a bad thing. You can actually get some agreement. What's difficult is to get those who carry some responsibility to do something about it. And so...
Interesting.
Yeah. You know, that video was uploaded 1.5 million times onto Facebook. Once every second for the first 24 hours, it was uploaded onto YouTube. It was prolific. It was everywhere.
Right.
So some things have changed as a result. Some things have changed because of some of the work we did. But the pathways to radicalisation have got worse. And we can't sit by and do nothing and expect it will improve. We have to start taking responsibility for each of our own areas to change what is that radicalisation that is happening.
There you go. So there's the conversation on that. I mean, we've heard those sort of stories and numbers before, but to hear once a second for the first 24 hours onto YouTube of all places. Imagine if Twitter was owned by Elon back then, it would still be there. Like I haven't gone looking for them, but I guarantee you the Charlie Kirk shooting will still be on Twitter. Whereas what happened when it happened in New Zealand is the government worked with social medias and they went, get it down. I've said this before. I never read the manifesto, but someone sent me the manifesto to my Facebook inbox and then it wasn't there because they worked with Facebook and they got it all taken out and taken down. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, Sean.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that, Pat?
I said, I'm okay with that. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get to this. Is our last video for the night. And this is actually just once again, it's really funny, I think. Funny might be the wrong word. When we hear critics of Jacinda, especially particularly crusty ones here in New Zealand, who are still harking back to COVID and will never move past it, is that how she's not empathetic. Still talking about empathy, still talking about that. And there's this lovely conversation between a man who lives in a country where part of his politics wants to stop talking about slavery, and part of his politics, not his politics, but the country's politics, want to leave up slave owners and horrific people as statues and not do something with them, to someone about how you actually do have to acknowledge your history. Acknowledging your history is something that engenders empathy in you. So this is, Jacinda's sort of bag at the moment. Empathy and be kind, no matter what. Empathy and being kind. It's not gone, even though some people in New Zealand seem to think that she's not empathetic, but it's not gone. So let's have a listen. It's only 60 seconds to this conversation.
We have sometimes a nostalgia for history that doesn't allow us to judge ourselves properly. And it's why it's so difficult that right now, when we look and we say, like, gosh, we tell such a bad story about slavery, we should really lighten that up. Countries that can face their own dark histories have an opportunity to make those reforms.
And acknowledging your history, and of course, New Zealand has a lot to acknowledge. Acknowledging your history is not an unpatriotic act. It's a way of saying, I love my country and I know it can be better. But the point I was trying to make before you brutally derailed it was that empathetic and right in these times.
Yes.
My view, the answer is empathetic leadership. It takes courage to be empathetic in these times. It is a courageous act to be optimistic in these times, but we need more of it, not less.
Absolutely. And that's just to show one again how brilliant she is as a communicator. John Stewart is probably the most respected comedic commentator in the world, and she just took the piss out of him and made him laugh whilst making a pretty brilliant point. So acknowledging your history makes you patriotic. I think that's a pretty powerful statement, Sean.
I would certainly agree. I don't think there's any kind of better sign of patriotism than acknowledging your history of kind of, how far you've come, but also how far you've had to go. And I think her framing that way is, I feel like it's something that the left need to appropriate. We need to make that our thing again.
I tell you what, I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. You hear a lot of people being really confused as to how the right for the last 10 years, I'm picking an arbitrary number, might be 7 years, might be 12 years, I don't know, have owned the free speech moniker.
Mm-hmm.
And they base it around the left, and it's really been around issues of gender and stuff, around the left, quote unquote, cancelling people or stifling conversation. Previous to that, the left was the home of free speech.
Yeah.
And I wonder, right, this is just a wondering out loud, not mark the time, mark the date. I wonder if purely because of what's happening with this, sorry to bring up his name again, but Charlie Kirk situation, and having the right literally turn into a 1984 Orwellian, if you don't say what we like, we're going to cancel your show, or you cannot report on this unless you put it through levels of authority first, that this might be the time that the pendulum swings back. Because I think that there's actually some fair criticism of the left for the last decade or so in squashing speech. Now, the speech has been ugly, but that's the only time you need protections on free speech, when the speech is ugly. But I just had this sense and this feeling that I wonder if this is the moment that the pendulum swings back and the left gets to re-own and to start to use again the benefits of free speech. Just some thoughts.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, I think the right was really censorious. Like, it actually kind of, my interest in politics begun really with the Iraq War, following that. And if you'll remember, I was a kid when it happened. It was big news. Bill Maher on Politically Incorrect, him being kind of like the real kind of first victim of what we call modern cancel culture. His show Politically Incorrect was cancelled because of comments that were deemed insensitive in the aftermath of 9/11. You had the Dixie Chicks, country girl band or whatever. They came out against the Iraq War, same exact thing. And then somewhere along the way, a few racists got called out for making racist remarks, and they suffered consequences for it. Pat, if I were to sit here right now and make those same racist remarks, chances are I wouldn't have a job to come back to when my holidays are over. My holidays will probably be indefinite. It's the nature of the free market. It's the nature of capitalism. I've always seen cancel culture as kind of like an extension of capitalism. These people who've lost their jobs or have faced consequences for something insensitive that they've said, I don't really think, if these people on Twitter, it comes down to, these were all business decisions. Like, this is not a government using its power to end your career. And the careers, by the way, and Kimmel mentioned this in his speech, the careers of 100 other workers on the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Little side note to that. You may or may not be aware of this, whānau, but when Politically Correct got cancelled, that was when Jimmy Kimmel slid into that time slot.
Well, there you go.
So Politically Correct's cancellation led to Jimmy Kimmel's show, and I saw some of Bill Maher last week, and I think he said 24 years to the day of his cancellation, Jimmy Kimmel got cancelled. Got his show was cancelled.
Weird, like that's so strange.
It is weird, eh? But sliding rooms. I actually just was thinking, someone was saying in the chat we should bring Jacinda on. I was lucky enough that when I was working in broadcasting, she was one of my weekly conversations. It was funny. At one stage, she was the leader of the Labour Party and Simon Bridges was the leader of the National Party. And when they were young MPs, they were my one each week. I had them on and had them in. So that means for me that I'm 2 degrees removed from John Stewart now. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll claim that and own that for the rest of my life. 2 degrees. Hey, Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of what we do with our wee Wookie off seeing bands. I hope you had a good time.
I've had an excellent time. Time flew by. I'll be honest, I feel like, remember in 2.5 Men when Charlie Sheen left the show and they had Ashton Kutcher come on. I feel like that's kind of what this is. I feel like I'm the James Spader replacement to Chewie's Steve Carell from The Office. You know, I hope.
I think that we can very clearly say no one can replace Chewie. We all know that. Everybody knows he's the favorite.
Yeah.
We're getting this stuff printed and made to sell, whether it's enamels or coffee cups. He's the only one of us that's got his face on that by himself. Yeah. So, you know, we know who the diva is here, but we love him for it. And no one else needs to try and compete with him. It's just been so nice having some of you guys on because it's a new voice. And to be really honest, Sean, I mean, you're like an 18, 19, 20-year-old young guy, but some people who are coming up in this sort of media world, especially independent media, we want our audiences to engage because 12 months from now, we need to be firing to try and make this government a one-term government. And I'm not going to make, I don't think I'm going to make any predictions next year as to who's going to win. I'm wrong too often. I will say, though, it's very unlikely, historically speaking, to have a one-term government. If there is going to be one, there needs to be some pretty serious work done by all of us, including the independent, especially the independent media. If we all know that the independent media was one of the reasons that Trump got elected. One of, not the only reason.
So this would be historic if they were to lose because I looked into it. There has never been a national government that has served only one term. There has never happened.
I said that to Chippy when we were talking to him, and he said to me, yes, but if you looked at first past the post and you used some of those numbers under a current system, there would have been several of them. So we have had voting before for a one-term government, just not the results. And before we go, I was going to mention this to you. Someone in the chat, and I'm assuming they're talking about you, has said big handsome news. And all I wanted to know one thing, because I saw this photo of you in the thing. Have you ever done like doppelganger work for Guy Pearce? Because there's a lot of Guy Pearce there.
It's the glasses, and you're probably thinking of him from LA Confidential.
But either way, there's a lot of Guy Pearce there. I mean, you know, Fano, tell us in the chat. They're all going to go, who's Guy Pearce? But I see
guys,
I see a lot of guys. Let's show people Guy Pearce, P-A-R-C-E, I think he spells it. There you go. Look.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. I kind of.
I mean, that's not a bad. You know, you can't shy that away. Yeah, sure. I'm just saying, mate. Take it.
Yeah.
And anytime you come on, we can be big, handsome news. There you go. Look, Bree. Oh, Bree's. It's Bree. She's in the chat. That's who you remind me of. Very funny.
That's going to be my comment section. Thanks, Pat, for the next.
That's all right, man. Hey, dude. My guys on Friday night call me Papa Pat, and that fucking stuck. So you can have Guy Pearce, mate. I don't mind if you have Guy Pearce. That's fine.
I'm way more. I take it. I feel way better when you say that I'm part of the young crew of influencers. Like when you say that, I'm thinking of like Bree and Rihanna. I don't know how Jordan is, but I'm going to assume he's younger than I am. I'm in my mid-30s, guys. I feel like, you know.
Well, I guess we're also saying some of us curmudgeons have been around in the media world for 20 plus years. So, we want people to know you. We want people to know your product, and we want to do more and connect more. All of us, me and you and the other content creators and the audience for the next 12 months. We really need to.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for us to say goodbye. Oh, get off. See, this is what they do to me. They give me shit. That's not fair, Jesse. You know what I'd look like? I'd probably look like one of the children of ZZ Top because it needs to be a lot longer if you're going to be part of ZZ Top. I wish it was longer. My beard won't grow. This has been growing for about 4 or 5 years and it just doesn't get any longer. Irish. I'm Irish, that's why. Oh, there's a couple of super chats. Sorry, guys. Kiwi Bird says empathy is new punk rock. And Speed Locked NZ said, this is coalition of chaos, not Nats, one term, fuck the world. Okay. Okay, then. All right, guys, we better wrap it up now because we're supposed to be an hour and a half and we're over. And, you know, Sean needs his beauty sleep. Doesn't really. I need mine, but Sean's fine. Hey, thanks, dude. It's been fun. And we've got to do this again, and we've got to stay connected, and I want my audience to be connected to you. So you should all go follow Sean_Ackland at TikTok. And I'm sure we'll have you again. It'll be fun. Let's do the credits, eh? Here we go. Maybe now? There we go. FTW is for the win. Generational thing. It's also, when I was growing up, it was also feed the world, but most commonly used as fuck the world. But okay,
I know a guy who has a tattoo with FTW, and he is pissed off about the for the win change.
I'm old. I'm old. All right. Disrespect. It's stuck. It has stuck. I'm sorry about that. It has stuck.
Yeah.
All right, Fino, that's us for another night. I will be back again, I think, with Bomber. He was sick last week, but we'll see if he's available tomorrow night. From 9 o'clock for the next edition of Big Hairy News. And again, thank you, Sean. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, sir, and I'm sure we'll do it again super soon, yeah?
I would love that. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, all the best. We'll see you guys tomorrow night from 9. Hooroo!
Yeah, I don't know if there's something up. If there was last time, we'll see.